Hello, welcome to another episode of Now We're Talking. I'm Scott.
I'm Julie.
Hi, Julie.
Hello.
All right, well, we know it's been a while. Things have been a little crazy, hectic, off-putting,
Nauseating.
That's a good word. So anyway, we're back, and we're going to try to, we've said it before, we're going to try to get on a regular schedule for all of our listener. Anyway, today we've got a few topics to discuss. I guess we'll spend a little bit of time talking about the election. And, you know, I don't know. I don't want to get too deep into it. But kind of in conjunction with that, we're going to talk about the potential for us becoming nomads. And then to make that transition easier or harder, depending on how we look at it, we're going to talk about the latest on on my job, and we'll talk about what happened yesterday. So we'll go back. We'll start with the earliest one. We'll talk about November 5th. And mea culpa, I said that, you know, one of three things were going to happen. And that the thing that happened, I didn't think was going to happen.
I think you were in good company.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it turns out from a popular vote standpoint, as of now, he's back below 50%.
Yeah.
You know, so not even half of the people that voted for him. Now we all know in presidential elections that, $12 will get you a cup of coffee at Starbucks.
Right.
Because it's the Electoral College that counted. But I never, in my wildest nightmares, thought that it would be the Electoral College blowout that it was.
And nightmare is really a perfect word in my summation. I think we're together on this, but just didn't really expect we were going to have to listen to this man another 4 years, 4.5, 5, whatever it's going to be. You know, we hope it's 4 years, but
well, we hope the actuarial tables catch up.
Yeah, but just the word devastating is probably the best way to explain how I felt about the turnout.
I think, you know, and I mean, I did a blog post last week about the difference in my mind between people that are ignorant and people that are unintelligent.
Right.
And then I think that there's such an ignorance in this country that there are too many people that don't know what's going on. And, you know, we've already seen buyer's remorse.
Yeah.
Like we've already seen groups like the uncommitted people in Michigan who are now pleading with President Biden to do something about Gaza, you know, because they're afraid of what's going to happen with Trump in the White House, but yet they didn't support Harris.
Right.
So
those were your options. You made your choice.
Yeah. Either they didn't vote, you know, they left the top line, you know, they didn't vote, or they left the top line blank, or they voted for Trump, or they voted third party.
Yeah.
And now, you know, what's going to happen? You know, and there are people that I guess in that blog post, I put in a graph that showed Google search, like a Google search term. And it was like people asked, what are tariffs?
Yeah.
And they asked that after the election.
Right.
Like they didn't know. So
you cast your ballot.
Not knowing
what it even meant.
Right.
Who was going to pay it.
Right. Well, of course, I mean, it's only fair because he doesn't know what it means either. So why would the people voting for him care? I mean, it's just stunning.
I just expect more.
Like this dude that stood on stage for 39 minutes
swaying back and forth.
To Ave Maria and YMCA and stuff. And people go like, oh, yeah, that's who we want. Yeah. Like, that's the guy that we want as president.
He's our leader.
Yeah, you know. I mean, it just, like, look, if he had a coherent message and you agreed with that, and you go like, well, the messenger is imperfect, but I agree with his message. Oh, okay. Like, we can disagree on that. Now, of course, I will, like, we can disagree about economic policy, but we're not going to, like, I have no respect for you if our disagreement is on the rights of people.
Right.
And, but that aside, if you said, like, okay, well, I think that, I'm for protectionism and I want, American companies to, and so we're gonna have tariffs, and that's gonna help the American industry, and okay. I mean, we can disagree with whether that'll work or not, but for you to not understand what he's saying because he didn't have a coherent message,
Right.
and I don't know. Like I've said all along, like people vote for him because he hates the same people they hate.
That's right.
And as long as he keeps that hatred going,
Yeah.
And now we're going to get potentially Matt Gaetz as our attorney general.
Yeah, that's just also unbelievable.
Once again, we're getting oil people in charge of like the EPA and stuff. We're getting Tulsi Gabbard, the head of the director of national intelligence, who has no experience in that. Pete Hegseth, as the secretary of defense, has no experience running an organization as large as the Pentagon. I mean, what are we doing?
Well, I think in the end he's trying to just destroy our country. I mean, it is just to create helter skelter, and that's how he thinks. That's what's happening in his head. It's just nonsense, and so that's what's happening in the real world now. And I think for me, I think we talked about undecided voters in our last podcast, which seemed weird to me that people would still be undecided, but that so many people didn't vote in this election is just unforgivable at this point. And I'm going to go back to your favorite band's line: if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. And that's what they did.
God love you for using that.
But that's what they did. They didn't want to make a choice, so they just stayed home. And in the end, you did make a choice.
Yep. I mean, at the very least, you've let others decide for you.
Right.
You've said you have abdicated your responsibility and said, well, just, whatever happens, happens. We'll let others decide. And this is what we get. And I mean, honestly, they talked about Biden's age. Well, Donald Trump will be the oldest president to be inaugurated.
Right.
No president is as old as he will be on Inauguration Day.
Right.
And I'm sorry, but if you don't think that he has lost it, like in 2016, like I'll just say he was an asshole. But he wasn't, like, I think the difference between Trump in 2016 and Trump in 2024 is he's losing it. Like, the cheese is sliding all the way off the cracker.
Yeah.
Well,
to be fair, he's had a lot of stuff to keep him up at night. Look at all the lawsuits that are against him, his criminal charges, his case with, what's her name?
E. Jean Carroll.
Yeah, E. Jean Carroll. I mean, and the money he owes her, she'll probably never collect it.
Right.
And so he's had a lot of things to keep him up at night. And we all know lack of sleep takes a toll on the body and the mind.
Yeah, but he's always been, like, even back, even probably before he ran for president, like, he would send out tweets at like 2:00 in the morning.
That's true.
Like, he was always kind of up at odd hours and stuff, and then he probably would, like, he probably just has like this erratic sleep pattern anyway. And you're right, though. I mean, like, the more that's on your mind, the more erratic those patterns become, and then the less functional you are. I mean, you remember back in, his first term, like, he wouldn't see the inside of the Oval Office till after 10:00.
Right.
Because he would have his, time, like, watching Fox News in the morning. Like, he'd get up in the morning and watch Fox News for a few hours before he got to work.
Yeah. Had to have time to get his suntan bed or his son bed in, whatever it is, and someone come fix his hair and put on his makeup, and it's just it's painful. I can't bear to think that we have to live through this another 4 years. So
yeah.
So thank you,
agreed.
American voter, for sitting on your ass and not going out to vote and making an effort to inform yourself what the issues are and understanding how each candidate felt on those topics. It's just,
And there are two other things in my mind at work that were at work, because like look at like Texas. I mean, they reelected Ted Cruz.
I know.
And I guarantee that if Ted Cruz was running in Texas and didn't have an R next to his name, like if he was running as an independent, like let's just say for argument's sake that, Texas, like there's no Republican on the ticket, and it's just Ted Cruz independent versus Colin Allred Democrat. Nobody's voting for Ted Cruz. Right? Because speaking of assholes, like Ted Cruz is an asshole. He's an asshole's asshole.
Yeah.
And nobody likes him.
Yeah.
Nobody wants him, but he's got an R next to his name, and they're going to vote for him because of that.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with Trump. If Trump used to be a Democrat, and if he was running as a Democrat now, do you think like Elon Musk is spending $150 million to get him elected?
No.
I will tell you that, as you know, in my past, I've voted for Republicans. And if there was a Democrat on the ticket that was as certifiable as Trump, or like our local election, where the Republican running for state house, she lost her Twitter account because she was posting insane Q conspiracy crap.
Yeah.
So Susan Lin lost her Twitter account, right? Because she's nuts.
Yeah.
And she's a Q conspiracist, and she got reelected. And again, because she had an R next to her name.
Right.
If she was running as a Democrat, like I wouldn't vote for her because she's a Democrat.
Right.
Right. If a Democrat running was as much big of a nut as these people are, like I'm not going to vote for them just because they're a Democrat.
I know.
But this tribalism, these people just vote because they've got the R next to their name and just, oh, they're a Republican.
Yeah.
We vote Republican in our house.
That's right, because that's what Grandpa did, and that's what Grandma did, and we love our Republicans.
Right, and people, like you said, people aren't looking at the issues and where the candidates stand on those issues. And I guarantee that if you had like focus groups and you just said like here's the platform for each of these candidates.
Right.
When I can tell you who the candidate is.
Right.
You tell me which one
you would vote for. Right.
Democrats are going to win.
Yep.
8 times out of 10, probably.
Yep.
So here we are.
Yeah.
Like you said, thanks America.
Yeah. Well, I know I think, at post-election, post-mortem, all the articles that have come out and everything. And, I'd written a post on Substack, and a lot of the feedback is, if you don't understand why America voted like they did, you're not paying attention. Dude, no, I am the one paying attention. You, in your misspelled response, are telling me I'm ignorant.
Right.
So I just, it's just hard to, it's hard to grasp. I can't wrap my head around it still.
People think that like, they talk about, it's the price of eggs.
Yeah. Yeah. It was all economics. And
so please tell me exactly what
did Trump say?
What is Trump's position on that?
Yeah.
Like, tell me what did he say? Because we know what Kamala said, and whether it was going to happen or not, we can debate, right? Whether she could actually get, with the help of Congress, whether she could get companies to stop price gouging or not.
Right.
I don't know. Like, I know that every candidate has sort of these pie in the sky campaign promises, and whether they're going to happen or not is always up for debate. And we can argue that, but like, what was his policy?
At least she had a policy.
Right. What was his? What did he say about it?
Yeah.
We're going to deport 11 million people. Like, okay, great.
Yeah.
Those are the people that are processing the eggs.
Right.
And you're going to deport them. Okay,
Yeah.
good job. That'll bring down the cost. Yeah, that'll bring down the cost of eggs and bacon. You know, the people at the meat processing plants don't look like you and I.
Right.
I mean, let's be honest.
Oh, I know.
They don't.
I worked at one.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You did in Kansas
Yeah.
back in the day.
Yeah.
And you told us before, I think we talked about it on an earlier podcast,
Yes.
about raids.
Yes, they would come in and scream Border Patrol over the intercom system, and the undocumented workers would start climbing into the rafters and diving under my desk, and
Right.
you know, I mean, so yeah, those are the people who are going to be gone. So your price of eggs and meat, you just voted for it to go up.
Right. And who's going to pick the vegetables? Who's going to pick the crops? Who's going to...
Your produce is going up.
Yep.
I know. It's just unbelievable that they can't connect the dots.
Right.
But anyway.
And I mean, I get it. Like, I get it, like on a, you know, because we can talk about the economy on a macro level, right?
Right.
The stock exchange has, you know, through October, day after day was record highs. And, you know, we can talk about unemployment being low. We can talk about inflation is back down to like 2.9%.
Interest rates are falling.
Interest rates are coming down again. You know, and people go like, well, yeah, but that doesn't help me at the grocery store. And that's fine. But no one can tell me what Trump was going to do
about that.
How is Trump bringing down the price of eggs and milk and bread and, you know, whatever else? And no one has been able to answer that question.
Yeah.
You know, so here we are.
Yep, here we are.
So
well, at least for the time being, and maybe that's our segue.
That's a great segue. And we've, you know, I think we've talked about this before, about the potential for either being nomads or just settling in a foreign country.
Right.
You know, we looked this up in the past, and I think, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that the more that we've traveled, kind of the more, you know, we've kind of liked the idea.
Right.
You know, and so the idea, for people who don't know, is like nomads are people that, you know, like the old nomads of old would, you know, will travel around, and you can get, there are a lot of countries now where you can get visas where you can stay for 90 days, 6 months, a year, you know, it depends on the country. And so we have talked about potentially doing that, selling 99.5% of our stuff, and just packing up the rest of it and moving to various countries, either South America or Europe, or, you know, and that. And why don't you talk about kind of that Substack that you found? And
oh yeah, it's oh shoot, I don't remember the name of it. Brent and somebody are going places.
Yeah. We'll put a link in the show notes.
Yeah, so they left and become nomads several years ago.
I think it was 2016.
16, yeah.
So these are two guys, just the little bit that I know. You've read more of their stuff, but they're two guys from Seattle, the Seattle area, or from Seattle, that I think they're both like screenwriters, and so they sold all their stuff and have basically been nomads, going from country to country, and living their best life.
Yeah, Brent and Michael
are going places. Yeah,
that's the Substack, and they do newsletters. I got my first one today, actually, and so they have a great thread out there about kind of what it takes. It's you know, high level. There's a lot of detail to it, but it was very informative. At least what I read through. Some highlights were, you know, insurance and where you're gonna, you know, how often you can stay, and obviously the cost is more if you true nomad, then you're not buying a house somewhere, so you're renting, and those costs are a little bit higher, but they're actually spending less living every day than they did when they were in the States. So they're
like significantly less, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like that, like a third almost. It seemed like. One thing I remember, like I think like living in Seattle, they were like, like the cost of living there was like, they were, spending over like $100,000 a year. And in my mind, I remember seeing, maybe I missed, but like now it was like $40,000 a year.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah. And well, I mean, if listeners are interested, like I said, I got my first newsletter from them today, and they've gotten, since the election, they've gotten over nearly 1,000 new subscribers. Yeah. So we're two of them, but they have great insight as to what it takes. And there's actually, I think, a company in Kansas City that does this sort of thing. They help people figure out where they're at, where do they want to go, how do they want to live, and then lay out the steps for them and help them through how to navigate that. And they have lawyers that help them sort of figure out where they were going and what financially they need to do. I think one of their hurdles was having someone in the States to help manage their mail and that sort of thing. And they had some pretty strong thoughts about that. Some people who weighed in in the comment section were like, just find somebody younger. And they were like, yeah, we talked about that. Most of our friends are our age or a little older even. And so it was hard to list them, knowing that, a time would come they wouldn't be able to fulfill those obligations. So it was really enlightening, and caused me, probably you too, to do some research and kind of get a better feel for what we want to do, where we want to go, what kind of steps we would have to take to make that happen. So, for me, the concern is, can you take your Social Security with you? You can, except if you live in one of, I think, 12 countries. There are 12 countries that will not send you your Social Security if you live there. And then they have some countries that they have agreements with and I didn't get into that a whole lot, so I'm not sure what the agreements actually are, but I guess the gist of it is, you can live there, you can be an immigrant in their country, and they will still process your payment directly to you, instead of like putting it into an account in the U.S. and then having to draw it out somewhere else. But anyway, and of course Medicare, if you're on Medicare, that can be tricky because you can't really use it if you're overseas because nobody's going to take it, So you're going to have to buy insurance wherever you are in whatever country you're in.
But you could drop like the supplemental.
You can drop the supplemental, but you still have you would really, if you ever think there's a chance you're going to come back to the States, you have to keep paying those premiums, because if you don't and you come back, they will penalize you for all those months that you could have had insurance but you didn't take it.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
they always get you.
Yeah, that's how they get you. So there's I'm sure a ton more information that we don't even know yet, but that's just kind of where we've started.
Yeah, and so I think there's like two decisions you have to make, right? Is like, do you want to move overseas or do you want to stay here? And if you do want to move overseas, do you want to settle in one country? Like we've looked at like places like Belize and Costa Rica and then Portugal and Spain. And,
right.
There's a number of European countries, or do you want to be nomads? And like we can go live in Germany for 6 months,
right.
And then go to, Romania or Italy or,
And there's, if I were 20 years younger, there'd be no hesitation whatsoever. I think nomad would be just great to get to live somewhere 6 months at a time and then go somewhere else. For me, it's a little scary because, moving is hard. And maybe in my mind, I'm thinking how hard it is for us to move here because we have so much crap we take with us everywhere, and 28 rooms of furniture, and so I know that moving there would be like packing a suitcase, probably, maybe a crate or two. But there's just something about the thought of moving every 6 months, and I'm afraid we'll get real old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we've kind of talked about this before, but I've had the idea of being domestic nomads,
Yeah.
lack of a better word.
Right. Yeah, we've talked about that.
Because I think it'd be very cool to like move to like, I don't know, Nashua, New Hampshire, and live there for like 6 months and use that, like, just like rent an apartment or rent a house, but use that as a base of operations. And then like, oh, well, this weekend we're going to go, to Mount Washington because it's only an hour or so away. And then, next weekend we're going to go to Woodstock, Vermont. And and then we're going to take a long weekend and go to Boston. And, and then when you get done with New Hampshire, you go, all right, let's move to Santa Fe, New Mexico, and let's spend 6 months there, and you can explore that part of the country,
right?
And I mean, there you could, if you did something like that, you could have a little bit more than a suitcase. You could have whatever we can fit in the back of the car,
right?
And yes, 8 rooms of crap we'd have to get rid of, but. We keep more of our clothes, and like you could just pack more stuff and still travel lighter, but not,
Yeah, I think whether you do it domestically or internationally, there is still a leap you have to take in your head in terms of getting rid of all your stuff. And so I lay in bed now at night and I think about all of our photographs, and yours before me and mine before you and my mother's photos, and we would never get them all scanned in.
We could start.
I don't know, it seems a lot, but just knowing that you have to give that stuff up in our China.
Yeah, I'm looking behind you at the China cabinet.
Yeah, I mean, there's
all the pictures on the wall.
There are things that will just be super hard to part with. And so I can already feel like the lump in my throat coming. So I'm just not going to talk about it anymore because I think it will feel like an immense amount of loss to me. But I think if you're really ready to make that leap, you can handle that. If you're unsure, I think it's going to make me nuts. So I still have some work to do to get there if we decide to do it. But I'm certainly open to it because I'll tell you, I just don't want to live in Trump's America.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
and no place is going to be perfect,
right? Absolutely.
But like being a nomad, if you do it internationally, it's the same idea, right? Like we go to Germany, and we can see Germany, or if you're in Germany, you can see Austria and Switzerland and Poland and France, and I mean, and
that just comes down to money. What can you afford to do?
It does, and that's the other thing is like, can I work?
Right.
Like I can't work in those countries, but can I have a job here in the States that allows me to live overseas?
Right.
Even like it would be tough, but I can make that work. Like the time difference would be tough. Yeah, but but I could make that work. And with that in mind.
Here we go.
Yesterday, we're watching football. Well, you're watching football.
Yeah, you were napping.
I'm napping.
Yeah.
And I get woken up by a couple of dings on my phone. And, I don't have my glasses on, so I'm kind of looking at it. I'm like, oh, that looks like a weird email. And the first one I see is actually from the person in HR. I see that first, and then I see the one from my now previous boss telling me that myself and 20 other people have been laid off from our company. And
effective immediately.
So it's a third of our company got laid off. So it was kind of a shock.
Yeah.
And I'll just say, Julie found a blog post from what's called like Ask a
Manager.
Manager, and it's just sort of this advice column. And somebody had this. I guess it was from like a little over a year ago. Somebody had written in and asked about this same situation where they got an email.
And he thought maybe he was just being weird about it. He thought it was just a terrible way to for them to tell him,
right,
you just lost your job through an email. And he's like, is it me? Is that common? You know, am I nuts? So go ahead.
Yeah. So I feel vindicated. You know, I feel better because I was, you know, like, so anyway, so I got laid off. 20 other people got laid off. And, you know, now we're just kind of wondering what I'm going to do. But I got this job a little over 3 years ago. A little over 2 years ago. I was in my third year. And and Julie just talked about this earlier, that I've said to a lot of people often that I liked the company that I worked for, that I really liked the president of the company. I thought that he was very like caring, like he was very respectful and respectful of our time, you know, respectful of like a work-life balance,
right?
You know, wanted to make sure that that we were happy. You know, every 2 weeks I had a meeting with the advisor, and you know, we always got to ask, like, are you happy? Do you feel fulfilled? You know, and
if I can just interject, I think in a remote setting like that, that is vital to keeping your workforce happy,
right?
To communicating with them often, clearly having a good communication line back and forth, so you felt comfortable talking to your advisor. He took your concerns to other powers when it was appropriate, but he also you had confidence in him that he wouldn't say the things that you wanted him to keep between the two of you. So, yeah, I mean, I can't say a number of times how many times you've had those conversations with people in our orbit about how much you like your company, how much you liked the guy, because we're not going to say his name, but and I think that for me is just the hardest part, is knowing how loyal you were.
And I mean, and honestly, so my anniversary, I started in August, and in the past on our anniversary, we've had reviews with the head of the company. Our company is very small. I mean, at its largest, we were at about 96 people, 98 people maybe. So we had reviews with him, and I get it. Like when I first started, there were like 40 people, so it was a lot easier for him to do reviews. You know, 98 people was probably a little bit harder, but It's not like he had to do them all at the same time.
Yeah,
we didn't have like, you know, some companies, like everybody does, you get reviewed at, you know, March 1st or whatever.
Right.
You know, that's what it was at Cigna.
Yeah.
So it was spread out throughout the year, you know, just to have a 30-minute conversation with you to tell you, you know, talk about the past year, what you did, what you accomplished. Here's your raise.
What's your goals next year?
Right.
Those kind of things. Yeah.
And so I talked to my advisor. Well, I talked to him like in like the beginning of September, and I was just like, have you, you know, I said, like, I haven't had a review yet. And he's like, I haven't had one either. And my anniversary was in June. And so last week I told him, I said, I still haven't had a review. And my respect for our boss has gone down some, you know, because even if, you know, I should backtrack just a half a step. We did have a first round of layoffs in October. 10 people were laid off. And those were I think all 10 of them were the newest 10 people, you know, and it was just like, we just were growing too fast. And contracts coming in were not, they'd fallen off, and and so I said to him last week, I said, look, I understand, if I can't get a raise, and that's fine, but I would have loved our boss, to have a conversation with me, to talk about, like you said, what have you done?
Yeah.
What have you accomplished for the past year? What are your goals for next year? And here's what's going on with the company.
Right.
Like, that would have been nice too.
Yeah.
And it just said, because he didn't even bother to do that, I've lost some respect.
Right.
And so to get an email on a Sunday telling me that, that
your livelihood is,
you're done here.
Yeah.
We have to lay you off because, sales in Q3 and Q4 have not been what we were hoping for. To me, it's just the amount of disrespect, the amount of cowardice.
It is cowardice.
Is just beyond the pale.
Yeah.
And I got a document that I'm supposed to sign that I haven't, and I won't until I make sure that the money is, that I get paid what I'm owed. One of the things in there is that I can't disparage the company, like on social media. But I posted, the only place I've posted, I posted in two places. One, like on Blue Sky, nobody knows there what my job is, and if you want to look up my name, good luck.
Yeah. It's so common. It's like, there's only 600 of them.
Yeah, but 600, I was going to say, that's just in the state, let alone in the country. But I didn't say, who I work for, and I posted on LinkedIn, and all I said there was just, that I was shocked that I just said the facts.
Right.
I didn't disparage the company. I just said,
laid off via email on a Sunday afternoon.
And I will say that other people have responded, the people that used to work there, that have responded a lot more forcefully than I did. With shock, and with just people were kind of the same way I was, that they were just thought that it was a cowardly way to do that.
And I guess that I still go back to the document they want you to sign. One of the things was that obviously you can't disparage the company, and I'm trying to figure out, how did they think they could control that? Do they think that you will sign that, and that you think you have to sign that in order to get your wages and your vacation pay? Because you don't, that's law. They have to pay you.
Yeah.
And so what do they get from that? I mean, where's the upside for you? What are you signing up for? I can talk about you any way I want to talk about you. You have to pay me.
Yeah, I know. And so I haven't signed anything. I haven't done anything yet, because on one document, it has the amount that they're going to pay me. So the company runs its billing and the pay periods. We get paid bi-monthly, not every 2 weeks. Right. It's bi-monthly.
Right.
So they owe me for November 1st through the 15th.
Right.
And so the amount that they say they're going to pay me is less than my normal check, and doesn't include the 78 hours of vacation time that they say they're going to pay me. Like, there's in the document, it says you're going to get paid this and you're going to get this.
Yeah.
But then the amount, and the amount's like half of it.
Yeah.
Like, it's only half. Like, where's the other half?
Yeah.
So I'm not signing anything until I see what they decide to do. Yeah. But you're going to lay me off, man. You're going to pay me.
Right.
What you owe me.
That's right.
And I'm not signing that document. Like, I may tell them, like, I'll sign this document after I have my lawyer look it over.
Yeah.
And I'll find an attorney to review it.
Absolutely.
Because I think look, I can say whatever I want about the company. If it becomes slanderous, then they have a lawsuit. But if I tell the world that I got laid off on a Saturday or on a Sunday via email, That's the truth.
That's on you,
and
man.
There's no libel in defense, when it's the truth.
Right.
And so you guys want to take me to court? Let's have at it, man. Because,
Yeah.
I've watched enough Law and Order.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're talking countersuit now.
I mean, in all honesty, I follow enough attorneys on various social media, networks like Blue Sky and Threads and stuff. I follow real attorneys that argue First Amendment cases, and while that's why I would want somebody to look at the document to make sure that I'm not in the wrong here.
Yeah.
But my reading of it, my understanding of everything is that you can't stop me.
Right.
I mean, I guess it's technically not a First Amendment case. All of you people that are going to say, well, they're not the government and they can, okay, right. I understand. Congress shall make no laws. I understand that, but I do know that when it comes to libel and slander, that the truth is a defense.
Right.
And, if I tell people that what you did, you can't.
That's not slander.
It's not slanderous.
That's just truth.
Or since we're talking about anything written, it's not libelous.
Right.
I want to make sure that I cover all my legal bases. Dun dun. But I mean, I'm not going to go out of my way. I'm not going to go out of my way to talk bad about the company.
Right.
I mean, there are definitely things that they've done that I disagree with. And I could talk about that too.
Yeah.
But I don't, it's not my place.
Yeah, and that's not the way you're built either. I mean, you just want what's owed to you. And then just split, everybody go their separate ways. We all learned something here, and you need to own what you did. It was wrong the way you let these people go. And I will move on and find another job, and
yeah,
just
yeah.
It doesn't need to be more than that.
I don't need I'm not going to have a vendetta against them or anything. Yeah. But I will, But if somebody were to ask, I'll speak my mind.
Yeah.
You want to know why?
I don't work there anymore.
Yeah. And if you want to know why, if you want to know if there's anything that they've done that I disagree with how they operate, I'd probably answer that question.
Yeah.
I'm not going to necessarily volunteer stuff. I'm not going to go out of my way to, like I said, to disparage them. I've known it doesn't get me anywhere. Right. Me talking bad about my company, especially to a prospective employer.
Right.
I'll talk bad about my previous company. They're not going to hire me because they're going to go, you're going to talk bad about us.
Yeah. Right.
I'm not going to do that. So I'm not going to do that, but I will. If somebody asked me, was there anything about that company that you didn't like? I'd be honest with them. I'll tell them.
Yeah.
I'd be like, this is the way they did things, and I disagreed with that. And I would also be happy to tell them things that I liked.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of good things. When I joined that company, the reason that I spoke highly of it was because of the boss.
Right.
And we talked about this before, but I think it's easy to be a really good boss when things are going well.
Right.
To me, your values and your character is how you are when things are not going well.
That's right.
And he was a really great boss when things were going well. He was, like we said at the beginning, he very focused on work-life balance.
Right.
And making sure that we were happy. I got paid really well. I mean, it wasn't an exorbitant amount, but for the work that I did, it was
fair.
It was more than fair. I was very happy with my, like I said before, I mean, I would have liked a bump this year for, just like a COLA.
Stay even, yeah.
But outside of that, I mean, I was happy with, that's the thing. If he had said to me, this is where the company's at, we're not going to give raises this year. That's the other thing. I don't know if other people got raises or not.
Right.
Did the head sales guy get a raise?
Yeah. Shouldn't have. The business is dropping off.
Yeah. Are there other people that got raises? I don't know, but it would have been fine. Like I would have been like, okay, like I said, I would have liked a cost of living adjustment, but I understand.
Yeah.
And like if it was like, hey, next year the company's doing better, we're going to give raises, we'll make this up to you, I'll be like, okay, that's great. I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
So
it's not like we don't understand too that sometimes businesses have to make tough decisions.
Absolutely.
Business it's not always guaranteed that you're going to grow year after year.
Right.
So when that business drops off, we understand that you have to make hard calls and sometimes people have to go. That we get. But to have done it the way they did it is what really sticks in my craw, and I will never forgive it.
Yeah.
It's unacceptable.
Yep. Agreed.
To treat people that way.
This is the second time I got laid off in my life.
Yeah.
Never been fired. I've been laid off twice. And I got laid off the last time. It was great.
Yeah, you got a nice severance package with that one.
I had a great severance package. And despite it being, like I remember, because it was 2020, and I got laid off like in February, and then in March everything shut down.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm never going to find a job.
Yeah.
I'm not going to find a job. And I even had at least one job interview that they just canceled because they're like, well, we're not going to hire anybody right now. And but I had a good severance, and I got a new job, and for a few weeks I was double dipping. Like I was getting paid my severance and my new
drawing a paycheck.
Yeah, and that was nice. Yeah. So anyway. So that's my news.
Yeah. So that kind of takes us full circle through the whole agenda for the day. And I guess where we are now is with this newfound knowledge of Scott's employment. Do we step up our plans to become nomads, or do we just sell the house and rent a condo, or do we just try to find jobs and stick it out? I don't know. I mean, we're all over the place right now. So we need a few days to let it absorb and kind of find our way through it. And so to sort of cheer us up a little bit, we did a little Christmas decorating today, and that's nice.
Yeah, but
it's early,
but minimal because we're not going to be here for Christmas.
Right. But it's still nice to have some lights around.
A little holiday cheer.
Yeah.
So, all right. Is that it?
That's it for me.
Wrapping it up.
All
right. We hope you enjoyed our episode. Our rants, or at least my rants, weren't too much. And like I said, we'll try to have a more regular schedule.
And more upbeat and positive in the future.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah.
We'll find some happy things to talk about.
I mean, I think it's just nice that we're sitting here in this environment right now, and we're still smiling and laughing, and we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine no matter what happens. But we'll try to be more positive in the future.
All right. Well, we hope you enjoyed the episode, and don't forget to rate us and subscribe and all that fun stuff. And we will see you next week.